should be receiving your individual student codes so that you can give them to your students so they can start this application process within the next few weeks if you haven't received them already. Now, on the OUAC website, this is specifically the button you need to poke in order to get the students into the application. Please do not advise your students to complete the 105 because the 105 application is meant for students outside of Ontario. So all of the students completing the OSSD will be applying as 101 applicants. Now, the first step is very, very simple. Fill out all the biometrics as required on the OUAC, and students on the OUAC can browse through different programs and program choices for every single institution in Ontario that they want to apply to. So one thing I do want to note specifically for the University of Toronto, the faster the student can complete the OUAC application stage, the better, because essentially all of it is biometrics. We will use nothing on the OUAC application to actually assess the student for their entry to UT. So that information, the faster you complete it, the faster we can get to the next step. Now, I'm going to go over a few areas that sometimes do pose a little bit of confusion for students when they are completing the OUAC application, particularly for the University of Toronto. So, as everyone knows, the University of Toronto does have 3 campuses. Now, one side point I do want to point out is a lot of students will sometimes ask, well, which campus should I choose, or what's the difference between the 3 campuses? Regardless of which campus the student ends up attending, they will graduate with the exact same U of T degree. The quality of education on all 3 campuses is exactly the same. So that part, you can reassure your students, there is no wrong choice for the campus. However, there are 3 main differences between the campuses, which I'll summarize very quickly. The first one is physical location. So our St. George campus is located in the heart of downtown Toronto. It's also our founding campus, established in 1827. Our Mississauga campus is located about 30 minutes to the west of downtown Toronto, and then Scarborough is about 30 minutes to the east of downtown Toronto. The second difference between the campuses is their size. So in terms of student number, out of all 3, St. George is considered a large campus with approximately, I would say, 38,000 undergraduate students. And then Mississauga and Scarborough are what we call mid-sized campuses. So Mississauga has around, I would say, 16,000 students approximately, and Scarborough has around 15,000 students. The third difference between the campuses are the programs offered on each campus. So I do highly recommend everyone take a look at the resource that I've uploaded to the session today. You'll see the University of Toronto Domestic Undergraduate Admissions Bulletin. So if you download that brochure and then reference that, you'll be able to see the programs offered on all 3 of our campuses. Now, going back to the OUAC application. So when a student selects the University of Toronto on the OUAC, they will actually see the 7 divisions at the University of Toronto. So at our St. George campus, we have the 5 major faculties. We call them divisions. Applied Science and Engineering, our Faculty of Architecture, Landscape, and Design, the one that we call Daniels. We have the Faculty of Arts and Science, including Rotman Commerce. We have Kinesiology and Physical Education, as well as our Faculty of Music. Our Mississauga campus counts as 1 division on its own, and our Scarborough campus also counts as 1 division on its own. So in total, on the OUAC, you will see 7 major blocks, each indicating one of these divisions. Now, under each division, you will see what we call admission categories. So these are the categories that the students can apply to on the OUAC. So on the OUAC, if they apply to U of T, they can choose 1 choice per division up to a maximum of 3 choices. So sometimes at this stage, students get a little bit confused because they're like, oh, what if I want to apply to 2 programs or 2 admission categories under the same division? The answer is they cannot do that because we only allow 1 choice per division up to a maximum of 3. So what does this look like visually? I'll give you all a quick example. Let's say a student is interested in applying to humanities. So humanities is a program offered on all 3 of our campuses. So the student could on the OUAC at the same time apply to our Faculty of Arts and Science Humanities admission stream. We could also at the same time apply to humanities under our Mississauga campus, as well as social sciences and humanities at our Scarborough campus. One choice per division, 3 maximum. And then when it comes to assessing the student, we actually consider all 3 choices at the same time. So there is a chance that the student might even get offers for all 3 campuses. Then it's up to them to decide which campus they want to accept the offer for and ultimately attend the studies at that campus. Also, you'll notice on the OUAC, you can like rank your choices. So those choices at the time of like review for us, because we are considering all 3 choices concurrently, the students don't need to worry too much about ranking those choices. I'm going to use another example. Let's say life sciences. The student wants to study a life science or health-related sciences. So again, this particular stream is offered on all 3 of our campuses. The student can apply to life sciences under our Faculty of Arts and Science at St. George. At the same time, they can apply to life sciences at our Mississauga campus, as well as life sciences at our Scarborough campus. Again, 1 choice per division, 3 maximum. We'll consider all 3 at the same time, and they might even get offers for all 3 campuses. Now, let's say the student really likes working with their hands. They like that hands-on experience. They want applying their coursework directly to the field. So we do have hands-on programs such as applied science and engineering, architecture, landscape and design, as well as kinesiology and physical education. Again, because the student is only choosing 1 choice per division, they can apply to these 3 faculties at the St. George campus at the same time. We will consider all 3 choices, and they might even get more than 1 offer to the different faculties, and then they can choose which one they want to pursue officially when they come to U of T. Now, a quick area where students sometimes do get a little confused is when the student applies to the Faculty of Arts and Science at our St. George campus. They will see a section come up that asks them to choose their top 3 college choices. Now, some students might be like, wait a minute, I'm applying to the university. Why do I have to choose a college? I don't want to go to college. Just to kind of clarify everything, the Faculty of Arts and Science is the largest faculty of its kind in North America. We have approximately 27,000 students in this faculty alone. To ensure that we are providing high quality services and the exact same services to every single one of our students, we have to break them up into smaller communities. So we have the 7 colleges at the Faculty of Arts and Science at our St. George campus, and every single college will offer the identical services and support to every single arts and science student. There is no wrong college choice. So my personal suggestion is for the students to go onto the Faculty of Arts and Science website. There is a section specifically focusing on the different colleges, talking about their history, when they were established, their individual traditions, what their residences are like. Again, there's no wrong choice. And then based on the student's personal preference, they can choose their top 3 college choices. Now, some students choose their college choice based on the dormitory choices available at each college. Some students will choose the colleges based on their physical location. So we know a student who actually chose his college because of its walking distance to his favorite shawarma restaurant. So again, there's no like wrong choice for the colleges, and it's all based on personal preference. The student will receive the exact same services as well as student support regardless of which college they go to. It is also important to note that, and we get this question quite a lot, students will ask us, can you switch colleges later on? And the answer generally is, it is very difficult to do so because the colleges do provide the exact same services for all students. So unless there is a really compelling reason behind the students wanting to switch colleges, generally, as soon as the student is admitted to the Faculty of Arts and Science, they will be assigned a college membership, and then that college is what they will stay as a member for all of their undergraduate studies. So hopefully that clarifies the question a little bit. Now, once you have completed everything on the OUAC, filled out all the biometrics, selected the campus, the programs that the student wants to apply to, and the colleges, if the student is applying to the Faculty of Arts and Science, you would submit that application and pay the application fee and then send that all out. Once that OUAC application is submitted, if it comes to U of T, then within a couple weeks of receiving the OUAC application, we will email the student an email acknowledgement saying, thank you so much for applying to U of T. We will assign the student a unique U of T applicant number, as well as detailed instructions on their next steps. The student will take this U of T applicant number and log into their personal applicant portal that we call Join U of T. So the website is join.utoronto.ca. So they'll have to go to this website and then log in using their U of T applicant number, not their OUAC applicant number. It's specifically their U of T applicant number. The first time they log in, they will have to reconfirm what their high school system is, and they will be able to see all of their required documents. Because the OUAC 101 application, all of you as counselors will be submitting the students' scores and grades through the OUAC system. Generally, there's not much going on that particular platform. However, if there are additional documents that we need from the student, whether or not it's a supplementary application relating to the program that they applied to, or if we need additional information on the student's past academic history, all of that will show up directly in this platform. So it is very important that the student logs into their Join U of T platform often, view their next steps, see if there are any updates, if there are any additional information or documentation that the university needs from them. And they can also see what the status of their application is, if it's like, under process, under review, so on and so forth. It's also on this platform that the student will be able to apply for residence. So if any of your students are interested in living in residence, encourage them to fill that out as soon as possible. Now, in terms of the University of Toronto, we are a merit-based, pardon me. So this is a quick screenshot of what that Join portal will look like. And then the student can kind of click through and then see what their application status is. They can check their residence, so on and so forth. This is also what they'll see in terms of their Join portal. So they can see what programs they applied to, they can see what the deadlines for all the documents are, as well as instructions on how to submit any additional documents they are required to submit if needed. So going back to what I was talking about a little bit earlier and started mentioning, U of T is a merit-based university. This means that we are looking at the student's academic history and their grades, particularly in the last 2 years of their high school, including their mandatory prerequisite courses. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But for some programs, 11 in total, there are supplemental applications. So these supplemental applications can be in the form of either a series of short answer questions, they can be a form that the student has to fill out, or it could be, like in the case of Raman Commerce or engineering, there is a written component as well as a video component. So all of these supplemental applications, they will show up as a clickable link on the student's Join document list. So if the student applied to a program that requires a supplemental application, all they have to do is click on that supplemental application link, and then it'll take them to another web page which gives them the specific instructions on how to complete their supplemental application. If the student applied to a program that does not require a supplemental application, this link will not show up at all on the student's Join platform. So we normally just recommend students log onto your Join, check your document list, and everything showing up on that document list, make sure you are completing and reading through the instructions very carefully. Now, if the student does not have English as their first language, they will need to provide proof of English language facility. So there are a number of different ways that the student can satisfy this. We have them all published on our website at uoft.me/ELR. But some of the most common tests that we see submitted by students are IELTS, TOEFL, or Duolingo. So you can see from this table right here, we are looking for an IELTS 6.5, no band below 6, 100 on TOEFL with 22 on writing. And for Duolingo, we are looking for overall 120. And we also want to see the sub-score results. Now, we do get this question quite a lot. So what if a student doesn't meet direct admissions English language proficiency requirements. What can they do? So our Mississauga campus and Scarborough campus will actually automatically consider students for admission to U of T at a lower English language level. However, if the student is applying to the St. George campus, specifically the Faculty of Arts and Science, our Daniels Faculty of Architecture, Landscape and Design, and our Faculty of Music, the student will need to self-identify and apply for the International Foundation Program. So the International Foundation Program is the conditional acceptance language program for students who meet all the academic requirements for U of T, but do not meet language requirements. So you can see from this table right here, the language bracket is slightly lower, and students that apply for the IFP and get into the IFP will receive a conditional offer to the University of Toronto if they meet all other criteria, and they'll have to do a little bit extra study time at the university, either an extra 2 months during the summer or an extra year at university, and satisfy those requirements before they can continue their studies at the University of Toronto. So you can check out more information on this website here, internationalprograms.utoronto.ca/IFP. Now, one thing with the language proficiency is students can apply for the IFP as well as direct admissions at the same time, but the IFP will take up one of those 3 program choices on the OUAC. So I would advise when students are applying, if they don't meet language requirements for St. George and they want to apply to St. George campus, they can apply to IFP, another direct admissions like admissions category at the St. George campus, as well as another campus that they're interested in. So IFP and then direct admissions program choice, direct admissions program choice. So in terms of timeline, we recommend students submit their OUAC application as soon as possible and then log into their Join portal as soon as that's available. And then once students gain access to their Join portal, they can submit all of their required additional documents if needed, and also apply for residence by March 31st. So the document deadline is February 1st, including English proficiency test score. So if any of your students need to provide proof of English language proficiency, encourage them to submit all of that documentation earlier rather than later. And the university does release decisions anywhere from like early February and then every single round up until May. So again, we recommend students apply as soon as possible, gain access to their Join portal as soon as possible, and then submit all their documents, including proof of English language proficiency, as soon as possible. All right. So in terms of admission requirements, because we have over 700 undergraduate programs, each program does have slightly different prerequisite requirements. So making sure that your students do have all the mandatory prerequisite courses, you can check our website for that information. And as I mentioned earlier, we will be assessing students based on their academics history, as well as focus on their final 2 years of high school, including their final marks for grade 11 and their interim or midterm marks for grade 12. If the student is applying after they've already graduated from the OSSD, we are looking for their full academic history and their performance in the final 2 years of high school as well. So specifically for Ontario, what exactly are we looking at in terms of documents? So we are looking for the students' grades as expressed in their high school transcript, and we are looking for a minimum of 6 U or M courses, including English. So we are looking for that English for You, and anything that has that C, that calculus requirement, you'll see on that brochure that I linked on today's session, and there will be a QR code later for all of you to download this document as well. You'll notice that there are specific course codes next to each program offered at the University of Toronto. So these specifically are the mandatory prerequisite courses the student needs to have. So you'll notice that pretty much any science-related course or program, any engineering, any like business-related programs, you will see that C indicating calculus. Now, you can satisfy the calculus requirement either using MCV4U or AP Calculus, and we don't differentiate really between AP or BC. Either or satisfies the calculus requirement. And prerequisite courses, you'll, in that form that you can download, you'll see advanced functions, for example, MHF4U for some courses. Generally for life sciences, you'll see biology, SBI4U, you'll see chemistry, SCH4U, so on and so forth. So definitely refer to the undergraduate admissions bulletin to see whether or not your student has the mandatory courses needed to apply for the program they are interested in. Now, this is really important because, again, U of T is a merit-based university. Please do not provide reference letters or personal statements, and you can let your students know that because they are completing the Ontario system, it's very straightforward. Everything is submitted through the OUAC 101, and the university will assess their entire academic history. Now, it's also important to note that students that transferred into the Ontario system, so students that transferred into the OSSD as of fall 2021, let's say they were completing a national system somewhere else in the world and then transferred into the OSSD, they will be asked to submit prior curriculum transcripts. So any transcripts that they've done at their previous school, we will ask to see them just so we can see their academic history and performance across the board in addition to their OSSD grades. So this is that QR code I mentioned. You can download the U of T undergrad admissions bulletin by scanning this QR code, or you can download it directly from this CANPII platform, because I did upload a copy there as well. So a very common question that we get from students is, what kind of grades do I need to submit in order to be considered a competitive applicant to such and such program? And the thing is, this brochure that we're showing everyone here, it's very straightforward, because for every single campus, every single faculty and program, for each admissions category, we do publish the competitive minimum ranges that we're looking for. So for example, let's say a student is interested in computer science at the St. George campus. You'll notice on this brochure that it'll say low 90s. So those are the grades that we're looking for a student to be considered a competitive applicant. We always recommend students to aim high. So the higher their scores, the more competitive they will be as an applicant, and particularly their performance in their mandatory prerequisite courses as well. So if you notice that next to a program, a subject, an area, you see mandatory prerequisite courses, we will be paying attention to how the student is doing academically in those courses as well. So if a student, for any reason, makes any mistake on their OUAC application for like their name or their birthday, etc., please ask them to be very careful, because any changes or amendments to personal information, any programs that they're applying to, all of that has to be done through the OUAC. So if they fill in any like wrong information or need to correct any information, that correction doesn't happen like that. So we do advise you to let your students know if they make any changes on the OUAC, and any changes or amendments have to be done through the OUAC. You can't do it on the Join platform. It usually takes at least a week for that information to be submitted to the OUAC and then resent to the University of Toronto. And then it's based on that resend that we update the student's file on our end. So there is that processing time. So please ask your students to be patient if they are submitting any changes or amendments on the OUAC, and then just keep checking back on their Join platform for any updates and to see whether or not those changes have been implemented. And again, if we do require additional information, our enrollment services will update the Join platform directly and indicate to the student that they need this documentation, or they need more information in certain areas. All right, so another common question we get are scholarships. So all applicants to U of T are automatically assessed for merit-based scholarships. And if you have any international students, we do have the Pearson International Scholarship that you can take a look at, which requires a school nomination for that student. So you can check out more information about our scholarships offered at U of T using awardexplorer.utoronto.ca. All right, so some final tips for your students. We encourage them, please don't wait until the last minute to apply, and make sure to log into the Join platform and complete next steps early. Again, because the OUAC 101 application is biometrics only, and all the grades are submitted through that OUAC 101, it should be very, very straightforward for students to complete that, ensure that all the information is correct, and submit that application as soon as possible. Once they have that OUAC code, they should log in and start that process. We also encourage students on the OAC to use an email they check regularly. U of T is paperless, so any update that we have, any changes made to their Join account, any updates, they will be emailed to the student, and it'll usually just be a reminder that says, hey, some changes have been made to your Join platform. Please check your Join platform, log in, and then see what's needed. We also encourage students that are not able to visit Toronto to book a virtual tour and see what the residences are like, see what the different faculties are like, do a virtual walk around the different campuses, and then maybe apply for all three, maybe apply for their favorite one. But we do encourage them to take a look at those different virtual resources that we have. And of course, if they're interested in residence, we encourage them to apply for that as well by March 31st. Usually, we would suggest if a student isn't sure if they need residence, apply for it anyways, because residence is quite popular. And we want to ensure that they do have a space at the university. So you can always apply for residence and then give that space up later on. You don't need to put in any deposits for residence at this stage. So we would say, why not? Just apply for residence first and then decide whether or not you want to keep that later on. And again, because we are merit-based, encourage your students to keep working hard, keep their grades up, because U of T only gives out conditional acceptances. So the general offer letter will state really clearly what program the student's been admitted to, but also ask them to maintain their academic performance, because we do expect that they successfully graduate with the OSSD and they're also meeting the conditions of their offer. If a student doesn't meet the conditions of their offer, we do reserve the right to withdraw their offer, so just be very careful about that. So for those of you that have students that are not yet in grade 12, that are thinking about applying to U of T, but isn't sure what U of T is all about, we do have enrichment programs available. So one of the things about U of T is that we do have enrichment programs either in the online format or in person. So the student can come to U of T, spend a summer with us, and see what it's like to be a student living and studying at U of T. And all students completing these enrichment programs will receive a certificate of completion from the international programs, and they'll also develop academic and leadership skills and develop that personal confidence needed to succeed at university. So in terms of our online learning, right now, the Perspectives on Global Business course is currently running, but if you have any students interested in life sciences or social sciences relating to health studies, you can encourage them to take a look at our online learning. We do offer that for a 10-week period every Saturday, so it won't impact their regular studies, and it starts in February of 2023. So you can scan this QR code for more information. For the students that want to come spend a summer with us, so we have two different types of programs. The first one is a pre-university enrichment program for students that are interested either in developing their university leadership skills or their university academic skills. So we offer 3-week residential programs in global citizenship or advanced academic programs in specific topics that are quite popular for students and that they're generally interested in, such as law, ethics, and society, or cinema and film studies. For students that are interested in improving their English at U of T, they can also do a 3 or 4-week residential program in all of these different English areas, and it does go quite young. So if you have students that are like 13 or above, you can let them know about this opportunity as well. So you can scan this QR code, and our summer residential programs are all inclusive. So other than the international airline ticket, if you are based outside of Canada, everything else is included. So it's a great way for students to, spend the summer with us, see what it's like to live at U of T, be a student at U of T, but also have some fun and see what life in Toronto is all about. So that concludes the presentation. What I have included here are two of the most valuable resources that we have for you. It's a lot of information. You can check out future.utoronto.ca to double check all of our admissions requirements, but also discover.utoronto.ca does have pre-recorded videos about our different application procedures, processes, requirements, and also for students just to discover what different faculties are like at U of T. So hopefully you can jot that down, and then you can check out those websites at a later time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sage. That was wonderful. I know that I speak for the counselors here, but I know everyone's learned a lot, and that PowerPoint was fantastic. We do have a few questions. I did some of the questions that were given. You did answer it actually within your presentation. So I'll just read the ones that perhaps weren't answered necessarily.
Sounds good.
So one of the first questions was, due to the length of time to process a study visa for a student, for example, from Nigeria, looking at the application decisions, is there a way that it can be made earlier than May just to give time for that visa application?
So we can't guarantee anything, but usually my advice to students is apply early. So the earlier the student applies and the earlier they complete all of their required documents and submit all their required documents. So this includes like proof of English language proficiency. This includes any supplementary documents, so on and so forth. Like, do not wait until the official document deadline to submit everything. The earlier all of that is completed, the earlier we can start the review process. And then that is pretty much what we can do to try to get out an offer earlier. If the student is competitive, if the student meets all the admission requirements, submitted all of their documents, then we can consider them for as early as that February 1st round. So again, apply early. There's nothing wrong and nothing bad with applying early. In fact, if a student doesn't get in that first round, we will automatically move them to the second round for consideration. So applying early also means we can consider students for more rounds of admission.
Perfect. And so just so that I know that there's a lot of Roselle counselors here, the PIN numbers will be released next week. So I know that, yeah, so the PINs are coming. It'll be coming next week. So then students can start applying. I know that the deadline for the applications this year is mid-January. So you're saying basically that if they apply before then, maybe submit their applications in November or December, then right away that would be processed. They would get their Join U of T account, and then they can start submitting the documentations even before that January 15th.
Correct.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Another question we have here is it possible to apply to computer engineering and engineering science programs at the St. George campus at the same time?
That is an excellent question. So on the OUAC, you are able to apply for one of those, like any engineering stream that you want to, the Faculty of Engineering, essentially. However, once we receive that application, any engineering applicant will gain access not just to the Join platform, but also to their own unique engineering student profile. So this engineering is really unique in the sense where they have their own kind of like student applicant portal. So if a student applies to both engineering as well as another program at the University of Toronto, they have to complete like both. So they have to follow everything on Join, and they also have to complete everything on this engineering student profile. And I can share that link with all of you shortly in the chat. So when the student logs into their engineering student profile, they can also select 3 of their top choices for the Faculty of Engineering. So under engineering, they have the core 8 or track 1 or engineering science. So within that engineering student profile, they can like kind of list their first choice in engineering, second choice in engineering, and third choice in engineering. So even though on the OUAC, you can't necessarily apply to more than one stream in engineering, at that second stage, the student will be able to expand those choices.
Perfect. Thank you. And we just have one last one here, and it is about the arts and science college choices. And they're just wondering, are there any, so looking at the different colleges, are there competitive colleges versus others, and does your college choice affect your admission decisions?
So no, the college choice does not impact admission decisions at all. It's not related. As I mentioned earlier, the colleges are all identical in terms of the student services that we provide to students, the support we give students, and we do try our best to maintain like a similar percentage of all like admission streams in each college. So each college will have approximately the same percentage of humanities, social science, life science, so on and so forth. So again, it has nothing to do with what the student is studying. There are some colleges that do require the student to select them as like first choice. So for example, Trinity College does require the student to list them as a first choice in order for them to consider the student. And this is due to just like limited spaces in the college. So like some colleges have more capacity than others, so on and so forth. So my suggestion is to go to the Faculty of Arts and Science college page, and I'll link that as well. It's actually a really good resource to give to students because it breaks down each college, what's unique about them. And then if you visit each college like website on its own, they also give like virtual tours. You can see what the residences look like. Some students are like, ooh, I want to apply to like, you know, Trinity because it gives like a very old, like Oxford or Harry Potter feel. There are students that really like University College because it's the founding college for U of T. There are a lot of students that, as I mentioned, will look at a like physical map and be like, I want to be really close to a subway station. So generally for those students, they're like, oh, I'll look at New College and like Worth College and Innis College because they're within like 3 to 5 minutes walking distance from like a subway station. So again, there's no there's no like wrong way to approach it. It's all about personal preference.
Perfect. And I just had one last question pop up just now, and it's about the transferability between the different campuses. So if, let's say, a student gets accepted into Scarborough, you know, what is the likelihood if they want to transfer in their second year or after their first year to another campus? What's the possibilities for those?
So it really does depend, and it depends on what program that the student wants to transfer into, as well as their performance in their academics and whether or not there's space in the program that they want to transfer into. So it's kind of like a multi-tiered question. The first one is make sure, firstly, that the program that the student wants to transfer to does accept transfer students, because, for example, all 3 campuses, computer science does not accept any transfer students. So if a student goes to, let's say, Mississauga and wants to transfer into the Faculty of Arts and Science at St. George Computer Science, it's not possible because none of the computer sciences will allow that transfer. Now, if a student, let's say, what is like enrolled in life sciences, and they're like, life science is not for me, I'm not interested in this, like it's not something that I want to continue pursuing, and they want to transfer into social sciences. Yes, that is possible as long as the student meets the academic requirements for social sciences, and if the program that they're transferring into, if they meet all like the prerequisite course requirements, so on and so forth, that's no problem at all. So it's kind of like a balance between if there's availability, if it allows transferring, and also whether or not the student meets the prerequisite requirements. So my suggestion is if a student is ever interested or looking into transferring, contact the registrar first. All the students will have access to registrars on their on their campus, in their faculty. And they can also contact the registrar of whichever faculty or division they want to transfer into. Ask them what the requirements are, what the process is, and what they need to do during their first year or even later years, and what they need to meet in terms of requirements in order to start that process. Because it is a maybe. It does depend.
Perfect. So thank you so much to Sage for being here and giving us an excellent presentation. I know we've all learned a lot. Just as a final, I know that some counselors might still have a few questions left or would like to maybe have a contact point. Is there a contact point that they can go to send an email or anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. So if you have any questions, you can email me at sagevaldalwu@utoronto.ca. because I will be traveling for Redmond very soon, I may not be able to reply right away, but I'll be sure to pass your emails on to our colleagues that are able to support and help answer questions for sure.
Wonderful. And then if everyone looks at the chat, Sage has left a bunch of resources and her email address down there. And for everybody on this call, if you actually scroll down a little bit underneath the video, you'll be able to see what Sage was talking about the U of T Domestic Undergraduates Admissions Bulletin. It is there. She's provided it there as a downloadable content for you to download and take a look at. And I think it's a very useful resource.
I'm also going to pop the direct link into the chat as well for anyone who wants that as a clickable link.
Wonderful. And so just to end this off, thank you again for joining us. I love that PowerPoint. It was great.
Thanks so much, Leslie.
And so to everybody else, you have about 3 minutes to do a quick bathroom break before you jump into your next session. So please do that. And yeah. Have a good rest of the Global Student Success Forum. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.